This is the Oboz Bridger Mid. I've owned a pair of these now for about 6 months. I was looking for a boot to take me through the winter time to do my sort of moorland easy walks, and also a boot that I could wear in the shop and be comfortable, but be a mid to give me a little bit more warmth, because we tend to keep the heating low to keep our carbon footprint low. So how have I found them in use? Absolutely excellent, really impressed by them. One thing to say is that I've not purposely done anything with them in terms of aftercare and looking after them. I really wanted to give them a thorough test, but without me doing my usual looking after the boot really well with creams and things like that. So I think this is that kind of footwear that people will tend to just use as opposed to look after. It is a boot you can look after really well, because if we start to look at the boot now, you'll see that it is actually an all leather upper construction. For this kind of boot, you'll tend to find bits of fabric and things like that thrown in there. And I think for the environments I'm using this boot in, an all leather construction is very useful for longevity of waterproofness. Now obviously I would strongly recommend putting some aftercare on the leather of any boot, including leather and fabric boots as well. But with this boot specifically, I think giving it an all leather construction, you will get a lot more out of the boot if you do keep that leather looked after, both proofed and conditioned. So the other advantage to me not looking after the leather particularly is that I've been able to really get this boot wet on the outside, fully saturate the leather out, and that, as you can see from the footage, I really did look at going through muddy puddles, going through everywhere I could find that was wet and horrid to really give this boot a test in those conditions. And what I found was, once this had totally wetted out like it did on the day that we were walking with the snow, is that didn't get wet coming through whatsoever at all. The membrane absolutely did its job, and so for me, for that test, the membrane works. And we've sold a good few pair of Oboz in the shop now using their own proprietary Be-Dry membrane, and to be honest, it works. We've not had problems with it, and I'm not saying that you will never get a problem with it. There's always problems. We get problems with Gore-Tex occasionally. I think largely that's down to holes getting in there, thorns, things like that going through. Generally, I fear the sort of weave of fabric that has lots of holes in it, which is easy for thorns to get through. All you need is a pinprick into any membrane and that's it. If it gets saturated, it will leak. So yeah, that all leather construction, nice soft supple leather as well, and relatively thin. This at the end of the day is what you might call a fast and light boot, so it's not going to be a thick heavy leather boot, and it keeps that weight down nicely. So yeah, nicely constructed upper, good option of laces on the front as well. The laces go down quite far, so you can get a nice fit to the foot, and in general the upper I've found to be durable and comfortable as well. We've got, as we move down the boot a little bit further, we've got this really big bumper on the back and a nice toe bumper on the front. Again, two features I look for in boots as a rule. Certainly the toe bumper, I do find that it tends to keep the boot in good order in rougher terrain, certainly with cross country, going through thorns, going even into places like Cumbria where you've got quite nasty sharper rocks, things like that. I think it really helps that the boot lasts a lot longer. Then we get down to the midsole. So we've got a technical midsole. It is a really good midsole as well, and it's got all what you would expect, the toss-door stability shanks and things like that. The bottom line is it produces a really good stable footbed. If you go onto Oboz's website, you can find out more of the technical details of it, but the practical end result of it is a cushioned, comfortable yet stable footbed for low level terrains like this, like the moors. And as you can see from the footage, the kind of mud and trails that we have around here, this boot eats alive. I've not actually had a chance to use it in a mountainous environment. I think on the certain trails this boot will be fine in mountainous environments. It's not designed for that particularly. I think it's one of them boots that, you know, it might surprise me as to what it can do in terms of even up to Munros and things like that if you pick the right ones, but it's not particularly designed for that. But that said, in the summer times I think you could probably use this quite effectively. And then the outsole. So we've got a rugged carbon rubber outsole, and given that I've used this as an urban boot a lot, I've used it at the shop as I've said already, the wear has been pretty impressive in the compound. It's not over solid, it's not over soft. They've got a nice mix, and the lugs are pretty thick as well. You have got a heel brake in there as well, again, so again, for that kind of times where you're in the mud, and again round here over winter time we tend to get quite a bit of mud as you do across the UK. It's gripped well. It's not perfect, yeah, I have slipped, but in the right horrid thick mud you're always going to slip, so a pair of poles go a long way. So yeah, the overall construction has been excellent. And one thing I've not mentioned as well is the insole. It comes with a technical insole, which is a fairly rare thing in boots, and so we have got some structured arch support there and some targeted cushioning as well, and a bit of calcaneus bone support there. That's kind of Oboz's thing, is the insole being a little bit more than you would expect in this kind of boot normally. So in practical use, I've really enjoyed it. It's been a really good boot for me, and to be fair, it's going to continue to be a good boot for me because the upper's in really good nick, considering I've not looked after it. I will look after it now, and as you can see now, that's what it looks like after I put Aftercare on, after I've shot this video. I've gone home and done that. So if you're looking for a mid, an easy walking boot, something that's going to take you on fast and light trails, something that's going to take you through moorlands, through dales and places like that, and sort of an easier day mountain boot for the easier trails, I think this is definitely worth looking at. Oboz have put together a really good piece of footwear here, and I've been impressed by its design, its comfort, which is king obviously, and its kind of longevity, and I think this is a good indication of where Oboz are as a footwear maker. Last thing to mention as well, these guys take their environment really seriously, and yeah, their manufacturing isn't perfect, but what manufacturing is, there's always a carbon footprint. But for every pair that they sell, they plant trees, and again, check this out on their website, and I think they're up to over 2 million trees now. Now this video is probably out of date already, so they might even be close to 3 million. Again, check their website out for that kind of detail, but the bottom line is they are at least attempting to offset some of the damage caused by the production, and I think, you know, in a nature lover, in an outdoors lover, that could only be a good thing, and something that I can only applaud companies to do and hope that they do more in the future. Okay, so the puppies want to get going, so we'll continue our walk. Enjoy your walking. Thank you.